Agriculture meaning that whether you are big or small, whether your turnover is 100 million and above, does not matter. But you are in agriculture. That's what we are saying. But now it has been transferred to the IDITRA, okay, so that the under the Industrial Development Income Tax Relief Act now, and in that act, it's kind of more difficult for you to get your pioneer status. You have to go through a lot of process. Okay, but it's being put forward as an incentive. Yeah, that's where we sit. So we look at it as an incentive, but to claim it is kind of more difficult. So I will know, in my own opinion, that any benefits, insofar you are in this primary educational sector, you should be given the benefits really if you really want to help companies. For companies operating in the free trade zone, exemption from taxes is now subject to compliance with tax filing obligation to the FIRS under Section 55 of CETA. So, although this was not clearly stated before in law, but now if you are operating in free trade zone or any export processing zone, you're not usually you're exempted from paying tax. So if you're in this zone, you are required to file your tax return as at when due. It's very important to file your tax, and so that government can monitor you. Okay, it's not that you are free, so you won't pay tax, you won't file. So it's good you file your return. Government will check that yes, you are exempted. So I think this is also good, so that you could they should be balanced. It should be balanced. If you don't cheat government, government don't cheat the taxpayer. So if you're in the free trade zone and you're not doing what they're supposed to do in the free trade zone, you're just there, but maybe you're in an export processing zone and you're selling to, you're not exporting anything, but you're in the export processing zone, then you are not paying tax, but you're not exporting at the same time. You are selling to local market. So government is losing from both ends. So this is fair to government. So I think the tax law should be both fair to government and fair to the taxpayer. And that's where we tax consultant come in more. So another reform in the tax policy is reduction of import duty on tractors from 35% to 5%, mass transit vehicle for transport of more than 10 people, truck from 35% to 10%, and as well as reduction of import levy on cars from 30% to 5%. So the automobile industry is what government is also looking at, just to, and price of cars going up, and looking at, okay, the levy now will be reduced, okay, from 30% to 5%. And of course, this is a new act, and we're expecting maybe towards the, as time goes on, we'll see the impact in the automobile industry and in transportation industry. Okay, so I think it's good for the government. This is good for the people in terms of this policy to encourage that sector. Now, is item level to excise duty now expanded to potentially include services in the future as may be prescribed in the law or an order issued by the president. However, no immediate change due to extant policy of not introducing tax and tax increase in 2021 fiscal year. So this is just a consideration that, oh, services might also be exposed, like communication services, MTN, I mean, call and data and airtime. It's okay. Very soon we are going to look at this, but they are telling us that for now, because of COVID-19, we will not touch this area. But we need to be wary of this increment anytime from soon. So this is also, as we said, that even all this, if they are coming and there's accountability and transparency in the utilization of tax revenue, then there's a balanced economy. Okay, so let's also look at another aspects of the impact of the Policy on the Finance Act. So we also looked at other aspects, which is redesignation of electronic bank transfer duty as an electronic money transfer levy of 50 naira on electronic receipts and electronic transfer of 10,000 naira and above in any deposit money bank or financial institution. Collection of levy to continue to be managed by the FIRS and CBN. Levy, rev- levy revenue are to be shared 50% to the federal government and FCT and 85% to the states based on the derivation. Okay, so this is fiscal sharing, fiscal accountability in terms of how money will be shared. So clearly, this is stated. Now, what we have in the Stamp Duty Act was called stamp duty before now, but who collects stamp duty when it comes to individual transaction is the state. When it comes to transaction transfer from company to another company is the federal. So states will say, "Oh, this stamp duty is not for you, federal. It's for me. It's for my state because this transaction is between individual in my state." Federal will say, "No, no, no. This stamp duty, federal should be the one to collect everything. After all, we share the money to you, state, eventually." So that's okay. Okay, we're not using the word stamp duty again. We are calling it electronic money transfer levy. So you and I we are still paying these charges till today. Okay, as I said, that yeah, this is one of the issue. Is either government decides to say we are not adding additional charges, additional burden. Rather, we should bring people into the tax net until we are beginning to implement the budget, better. So it's not a good policy to add additional burden while on their own part of budget implementation, we're not seeing much improvement at the local government level, especially. So for the payment of tax refund to be administered by the Federal Inland Revenue Services, the Office of the Attorney General of Federation is open to dedicated to open to is to open dedicated account for each tax type which will be funded based on annual budget for tax refund for each tax type as may be approved by National Assembly. So for refund, tax refund, it has been very difficult for government to refund back taxpayer. This is not what we see in other countries. In most advanced country, in fact, they will refund you before even asking. When they do the calculation and you've paid excess, they don't send to your account. But in Nigeria, to get refund is very difficult. There will be tax audit upon audit, there will be correspondence, they will check, and eventually they'll tell you that use it for your future taxes. When your future taxes are not even exposed, maybe it could take so it takes time. But now they want to be more responsible in that aspect of refund so that they can credit taxpayers or companies that have overpaid their taxes. Okay, a non-resident person that makes a taxable supply to Nigeria is required to register for tax and obtain a TIN number as well as to include VAT on his invoice and appoint a representative in Nigeria for the purpose of his tax obligation. So if you're a non-resident company now, it's not compulsory you use the address of the person you are transacting with. You can you can appoint a representative in Nigeria so for your tax matters. So your address, your TIN number, and the likes. Person will you could use that representative, as someone representing you to register with the tax office. So unlike before, uh, you are required to use the contact the person you are transacting with, or like before, when it comes to non-residents, there are lots of complexity. But now they will tell you, but now we have seen a situation that whether you're a non-resident, insofar you're supplying service to someone in Nigeria, our tax system is based on destination principle. Okay, so you're exposed to tax, especially value-added tax in Nigeria, and that's also bringing us to the issue of SCP, significant economic presence. So even though you are Facebook, you are Twitter, you are Instagram, a lot of Nigerians are doing adverts online and they are paying. Okay, but international tax, it's still looking at ways to agree with this company on how they'll be paying their tax because some of these economies are big that if you did not manage it well, they know how to punish you at the other end. because you do trade with them at the other parts of the globe. Okay, so they might increase their own tariff against you. There's tax war and the likes. So these are issues discussed at international level as well when it comes to tax, non-resident tax. So we also have service of non of notice of assessment and objection under SITA may be done via courier services, email, or